A lot of us have planted seeds, we've planted potatoes, we've planted onion sets, we're waiting for it all to grow. That doesn't mean we have to wait weeks and sometimes months to start eating from the garden though. This time of year, April, is a fantastic time for eating some of the wild plants and some of the young shoots that are coming up across the garden. So I'm going to show you a few things that you can get making right now from things that will be prevalent in your garden or in the verges around. So one plant that's very common in the garden, it's common in the verges and ditches in around the countryside and around suburbia, is the nettle. And an increasing number of people are learning about how you can eat nettles. They're actually, though, enormously nutritious, more nutritious in fact than most of the vegetables that you get in your fridge. You can make tea out of them, but a really nice recipe that I'll show you a little bit later on in this video is nettle soup. We're having it for dinner and we're picking them right now. It's April, best time to pick nettles, and I'll show you how to do it. Nettles, here they are, growing all along our little hedge in the middle of our back garden here, and they are very, very valuable for wildlife. They're particularly valuable for a whole range of butterflies and ladybirds and all sorts. So we don't want to rip up all the plants. It's also actually better to eat the young shoots at the top of the nettles, and as the season goes by they're less and less good, and in fact very late in the season, once they've flowered, you shouldn't be eating them anymore once they've gone to seed. So it's this early young shoots that we really want. We're just going to pick them off. You can use rubber gloves. Here they are. Or if you're really careful you can do it. My daughter is fantastic at doing this, just picking them off carefully without wearing gloves. You are going to get the odd sting though. Just nip it off at the give it a pull. You're going to need quite a lot of these. We're collecting them in a bucket. We're going to fill that bucket up. Go round. Now, just by taking the tops of all these nettles, we are not taking the plant away from wildlife. We're leaving plenty there, plenty of nettle there. It'll carry on growing and it'll manage to produce flowers and support the wildlife in our garden. We really want to support the wildlife. I've done all those, I haven't had a single sting yet, so it can be done. Don't have to though. If you want to wear gloves, just go for it. Collect as many as you can. However, over here, let's have another look at another little common garden plant. Go over the swing. Down here, this shooting up here, this is Hosta. Really, really common, grown as an ornamental across gardens all over the country. Slugs love it. People could love it as well though, because at this time of year, just as the shoots are coming up at this point, just now, you have a small window of an opportunity. You cut them off here. With a hosta, maybe cut about half of them off and leave half so the plant can keep growing, give itself energy and produce for next year. Take half of these off and fry them in a stir fry, and they're very, very similar to asparagus. Really, really tasty. We've got all sorts of things growing in this little, what's called a hugelkultur bed, which we'll go into another time. There's some dandelion. Petals of that are edible. Actually, the leaves are as well, but not quite as tasty. But the petals add a nice little bit of interest to a salad. What else have we got? Got some red-veined sorrel growing there. Some strawberries growing. Got some mint coming through. All sorts of bits and pieces. On the other side though, if you look, that is the sorrel that we didn't harvest in time. So that is what it will come to if you don't harvest it. You have a small opportunity of about a week or so in April. Those big leaves there, that's wild garlic. And over here, some daffodil garlic. So there's a fair amount growing. Some of it we put there on purpose and some of it we've allowed to turn up. And together, that can make a really nice salad to go along with our nettle soup. All right, we're down by the hens, collecting some more nettle. Say hello, hens. Hidden amongst the nettles, something else you can eat this time of year, are these, which look a lot like nettles. They're called dead nettles. And you can eat them. The flowers, tasty. Obviously, again, don't take all the flowers because the flowers are really important for wildlife, bees and so on. But take off the flower, suck that little end bit, and it's got a lovely tasty sweetness. And you can eat the leaves as well, can't you? Okay, basic little nettle soup recipe. Here we go. I am no TV chef, so this is the real basics. Chuck a couple of onions in a pan and fry them. Chop up some garlic, a couple of cloves of garlic, and in this case, because it's April, we're also going to use some wild garlic that we have growing in the garden. You can also find it on the edges of rivers, on the edges of woodlands, all over the place. Take a bit, but don't take much, leave most of it so the plant can grow and to benefit wildlife as well. We're thickening it up with a bit of flour, just plain flour. Just leave it to thicken for a minute or so. Not going to use much flour because, my God, flour is hard to find right now. We're going to add a few veg in there, a few carrots. I've already got one potato, so that's all that's going in, but a few more will be better to thicken it up. And because the kids haven't noticed and they're not around, I'm going to sneak a courgette in there as well. Then I'm going to add a litre of stock. Nettles are going in next. Before they do, we're going to give them a good rinse. They tend to be a bit dusty and a bit muddy and a bit spider webby, so we'll give them all a good rinse. And then all the nettle tops can go straight into that stock. Okay, it's all washed now and in the pan. That's 400 grams of nettles, also known as 1 bucketful, or carry a bag full, or about that sort of amount. Really not the most precise recipe in the world. A bit like spinach, it'll reduce right down as it cooks. So we're going to stick a lid on it and we're going to let it reduce down for a bit. And voila! Significantly reduced down, as you can see, but we're going to cook it for another 15 minutes or so now. Really get it softened up. This has been cooking for about 15 or so minutes. It's boiled down really nicely. It's all quite soft, and I'm going to whiz it up because this is way nicer whizzed up. There it is, all whizzed up. It's looking pretty good. It could be a bit thicker. Usually you have a few potatoes in there to make it nice and thick, but I only had one in the cupboard. And it's not easy to go and get more at the moment. So we've just used the one, but what I am going to do is I'm going to put about a tin's worth of chickpeas in here, and I'm going to whiz that up because that will give it an extra bit of thickness. And nettles have a kind of nutty flavour to them, so chickpeas should go quite nicely. I know they're not nuts, but they have a nuttiness to them as well. So in they go, and then steamy. And then we'll whiz that up one more time. Every salad benefits from a subtle flavoured base leaf in it of some form, hence the popularity of lettuce. If it's a little later in the year, we'd be using lime from the common lime tree. Not the lime fruit, but the common lime that grows naturally in this country. Its young spring leaves are absolutely delicious, but they're not out yet. So we're going to use some lettuce from the fridge, along with our wild weedy salad that we're going to produce. Which is made up of all manner of things. We've got ground elder, introduced a couple of thousand years ago by monks or Romans, I'm not sure which one it was. The bane of many a gardener's life, but actually fantastic ground cover and tasty nutty flavoured thing. We've got some daffodil garlic, we've got some chives, we've got some wild garlic. What else have we got in there? Some red vein sorrel, and we've got some petals from the dandelion too, just for mainly for looks.